I'm excited to welcome Yolanda Reshemah to Your Traitor Within. Her journey speaks to the courage it takes to redefine yourself when everything around you shifts, when you leave behind the familiar and learn to trust yourself in entirely new territory. Yolanda is a visionary and a creative catalyst whose work is rooted in her values of friendship, courage, and elevating people's stories. Through her podcast, The Places We Call Home, she shares stories of triumph and wisdom, particularly through the lenses of those who move cross culturally to different countries, particularly to the United States, away from their places of origin. She is passionate about sharing stories of transformation amidst change and helping people to realize their value. She thinks in pictures and comes to this work with deep wisdom in the legal profession and senior consultant roles at T-Mobile. When the CEO of T-Mobile told her she had big shoes to fill, her response was, "That's okay. I have big feet." I love that, by the way, and very telling.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I want to thank you, Yolanda, for your vulnerability as you share your Trader Within story. So, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here, Jessica. And I am just ecstatic because I love the way we connected online.
Yes.
It's just lovely. I'm excited to chat with you. I love what you're doing with your show.
And I love what you're
Beautiful.
doing with your show too.
Oh,
Very
thank
inspirational.
you.
So, let's start with the Trader Within.
Mm,
Because you recently told me
yes.
your, as you said, spiritual awakening. So, if you don't mind, can we start right there? And then we'll talk about everything else after. So, tell me about your Trader Within.
Oh, absolutely. The term spiritual awakening for me is, it's something that I myself don't really use or use advisedly. But for me, when I talk about the traitor within,
Mm-hmm.
it's understanding that there are behaviors or thought processes that arrest who I am at core, arrest what my life really should be, what my life can be, how the person that I'm created to be.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that has been showing up over years as somebody who's been waiting for permission.
Mm-hmm.
I only recently, in the last few weeks, literally like last month, I had this sense of realization with me and my church. We're going through this time of um, prayer and fasting and just being able to really focus on what's important and examine ourselves and just getting rid of stuff that hinder us and push us back.
Mm-hmm.
Feelings, emotions, unforgiveness, all these sort of things. And in that process of examining, I realized actually, Yolanda, there's something that's been going on with you. You have the ability to do stuff. You have the skills and the talent. You also have the experience,
Mm-hmm.
but you have been waiting for people, looking up to people to acknowledge you, to see you, and maybe to pat you on the head and then go, yes, you're fit for whatever. You can go ahead, you can do it. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't need that because you're not ever going to get that from other people.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might out of the generosity of their heart, but many other people are so busy with their own lives. Oh, they just don't want to see you. There's
Mm-hmm.
also that.
Mm-hmm.
Stop waiting for people to give you permission to see you, to acknowledge you before you step into a position, a role of authority,
Mm-hmm.
and however that may present itself. It
Mm-hmm.
could be in terms of my career. And then I had to do the process of looking back at work and opportunities that I had actually missed because I was too sort of like quiet, waiting, holding on for somebody else to say, yes, come up here,
Mm-hmm.
because they're never ever going to do it. And I
Mm-hmm.
look at myself in terms of some friendships as well, that whilst they may present themselves as full friendships, in fact, they are using your skills and opportunities and all the good stuff that you come with for
Mhm.
their benefit.
Mhm.
And you're waiting, sort of like, when is this friendship going to really be authentic? And stop doing that.
Mhm.
You don't need to do that. So
Mhm.
I started seeing in the last few weeks various different snippets of where I had even speaking opportunities, even doing the podcast. Initially, in doing the podcast, I was in complete denial. And as I started doing it, I started realizing that I'm really holding back. Let it be done over there somewhere. But
Mhm.
I myself, I'm just going to be here because
Mhm.
I'm going to be quiet. No,
Mhm.
you've got to embody it. And so I just realized that this is something that had been going on for a while.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So remember when you emailed me, it was just the other day and told me this, and I want to really say this because A, I know this is not you're not alone. This is something that people do feel, and I think women more than men, but I don't want to, put that out there, but I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And but and this shift, it's a shift in you. So
Mm-hmm.
once, the big first you realize what your traitor within is in general, but you realize this one. And then you start examining, you're insightful, you're examining, where in my life did this traitor show up? How did it stop me from being the best me or being fully authentic?
Yes.
And then my guess is, and we'll talk about it, where do I proceed from now? But as I said to you, or I responded to you from your email when you shared this with me, the shift is in you, but you're shifting the world, the universe, I believe. Because not only by doing this, and talking about it, and I'm sure this is not the only place you're going to talk about it, you're even if you touch one other person, we're all connected, right? And
Yes.
you touch that person, and they're going to be like, oh my God, I've been doing this too. Let me examine my life. Let me make some changes because really the only person that, that needs to give me permission is me or God. You could say there's a higher power too,
Yes.
but it's within me.
Yeah.
And I don't need another human being to give me
Yeah.
permission. You know, so
Absolutely.
part of the traitor is what is, you look back and you said you weren't so sure, but usually it starts in childhood. And in
Mm-hmm.
childhood, it comes out of feeling that how a child can feel safe. And maybe, and I don't know, and maybe this isn't correct at all, but maybe, and you in your childhood needed permission, as we do as, I mean, all children we're not told we can do anything, right? Most of us,
Mm-hmm.
some, maybe you needed permission to, I don't, you'll share with me that maybe somewhere in your childhood you had this lesson and that lesson kept you safe. And so, I'll explore that with you. But just want to say one more thing, and then I'll give it back to you. And that is, by this shift in you, I really believe there's going to be a bigger shift in the universe. That.
Oh, yes. And there's so many things that you've just pulled out there, but this shift is monumental because it impacts my courage.
Hmm.
It impacts it impacts everything. It impacts what I bring to the world and how I bring it, what I bring to the people around me, my husband, particularly my daughter, because I'm now beginning to think, what have I conveyed to her? What has she picked up and what is she running with? What have I, oh, sorry, there's a little gnat from my
I have
plant
them
here.
too. Are you in California? Where are you?
I'm in
Right.
Northern California.
But
Yes.
there's gnats now. I was telling, not to, I don't want to stop the conversation, but there's
That's
gnats
okay.
here too,
Yeah,
all of a sudden.
I left my plant outside and I think one came in with them. But yes, I'm beginning to wonder how is this showing up with my daughter? And I need to really
Right.
keep an eye and look and pay attention and have conversations with her.
Because this intergenerational trauma stuff is real.
Yes,
But
yes.
we have the ability when we have insight, which you have, so what without a question, besides everyone that's going to listen to this and everyone else, that you are going to make a difference with your daughter because you can still teach her. Just because she may have witnessed this, just because she may have learned this, you can now talk to her and learn from you. And it's also a lesson to know that people can change or people can have epiphanies and make changes in their life. And that's a lesson within itself. And it's okay to admit you did so, that maybe you weren't acting in your best interest in the past, and you can make a difference. You're never too old to make that change.
Yes, and I love change. I embrace change. But
Hmm.
and whilst changing, it's also true that it has been quite horrifying. It's been because I've never considered myself to be somebody who hold back. I used to be very, very shy, very, very shy up
Mm.
until maybe the age of about 14, 15. And one day I decided this is no good for me. I'm not going to have any friends. You know, people are just going to start ignoring me if I'm just too sort of like pulled into myself. And then I decided I'm going to stop being shy. But I used to be very, very, very shy. My voice was hidden. And I realized that that's a part of it. Is that an underlying factor? I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, tell me. But I wonder if that's still an underlying part because a lot of what I do now is about using my voice, and behind my voice, there's conviction, there are visions and thrust to do things, and I want to fulfill all of those. So I'm thinking I never really saw myself as somebody who was so shy. I made it a mission to be
Hmm.
adventurous, and that is part of who I am,
But you
and
could have
courageous.
conflicting thoughts too. You could
Yes.
have, I mean, with me, without going into my detail at all, sometimes my trader would, my intuition or my one part of me would say something, and then my trader would come in and contradict it. So I may
Mm,
feel good about something, and then the trader was, no, 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 maybe this you can't do that, or you need to be quiet, or you need to be invisible to be safe. So you could, and first of all, amazing that at 14 years old you had the ability to say being shy is not helping me grow, or being
yeah.
shy is not being, I want to be heard. I want people to know I don't know what, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but being shy and actually obviously making changes in your life to not come across as shy anymore. I don't know what you were feeling inside, but having a voice that at
Yeah.
14 is I mean, it's on your own, right?
Yes, absolutely. Nobody else knew about this. I just kept seeing
Mhm.
myself, and I saw other people trying to connect with me and make friends. And hi, Yolanda, waving at me. And so I was like, hi, just kind of like fading away. And then I realized, what is that? That's no good. That's not the life I want to live just by myself. And thank you. I never really thought about it really deeply. I just thought, I don't want to do that anymore. And
Mhm.
so this is why I was quite horrified when I discovered a few weeks ago that I
Mhm.
had been doing this to myself. And
Mhm.
now I feel, well, that mess has got to go. I don't want that. I don't
Mhm.
want to keep being like that. I don't want to do that anymore. This traitor, I like how you phrase that, the traitor within me
Mhm.
doesn't belong here. It cannot reside here. There is no space or place for it here. I don't have time for it. I don't
Yeah.
want to make time for it. I
Mhm.
want to go on and live a life that is authentic, and I want to live a life that has extraordinary in it, and I
Mhm.
want to live a life that is full. And if
Mhm.
I keep letting
Mhm.
this I don't want to say character because I don't think it's a character trait. What is it?
Well, I look at it as a part of us that
Mm,
initially thinks it's helping. This is why I call her, mine's a her, it doesn't have to be a her, but mine's a
mm,
her, a traitor that at some point in my life, it did help me because at some point
mm,
in my life, my childhood stuff was working because I had no choice.
yes.
And then later in life, realizing that that being that was still trying to help me, for me, it was to help me not feel abandoned, was actually keeping me in places, keeping me quiet, keeping me asking for permission to do some of what you say and other things as well, um, was causing self-sabotage. So I look at that part of me with compassion, that it had good intentions. So it was trying to be a friend, but as with traders have it's like a trader of a country. Whatever they're
Yes.
doing, they
Mm,
feel they're doing the right thing. They're not just well, sometimes maybe they do it for money, but let's assume they're doing
yeah.
what they're believing in their cause. So my trader believes in its cause, but it's not
Mm,
doing the right thing for me anymore. So I
mm,
do. So I say, I always say to my trader, if she tries to have her little head come out, You go back, go to sleep, go, go in the garage. I don't need you anymore. I got this. And someone once asked me on a podcast about how do you know when you are when your trader's gone, and it
Mhm.
goes a little bit to what you said, and that is I know that when I can just be me, when I can be authentic without worrying about nothing, it's peeling the layers that stop me from being me.
Mm. Yes, I understand that. I
Mm,
see that. But for me, that's interesting because for me, I feel as if at the moment, I can't see how this was helpful at all in any way because I look now and from this view, from this perspective, looking back at all of those little snippets and viewing that behavior,
hmm
to me, it's like an ambush. It's given
hmm
too much deference and too much respect to
hmm
other people
hmm
over myself.
hmm
And that for me is a little bit horrifying.
hmm But now you know it. You can put it, I can help you too, but I think you got this. You can put it in your past. And sometimes we're triggered. Our trader can come running out when we're triggered. So um, I'm just thinking with you. So you say it's the one that needs to have permission. So there may be a time, maybe it will never happen now that you have full awareness, but there may be a time where I'm just throwing this out, another job offer comes your way.
Mhm.
And it's something that you really, really want, but it means a big move or something. And then you wind up having to ask three people, what do you
Mhm.
think? Like, instead of just going with it. Not that you wouldn't, I mean, you're married. So of course, I'm not talking about normal conversation with someone,
That's right. That's
but,
okay.
but you don't make that move at all until someone else gives you, I'm just throwing this out permission. And then you say, oh,
Yeah.
wait a second. No, no, no. I have input here. This is my life too. And I mean, that may be not the best example, but
No, but I understand. I
yeah.
understand what you mean. I understand where you're going with that. And I think that's really comforting, actually. And I think really ultimately what I'm hearing from you is the life lesson. It's being able to spot the occasions and the opportunities where it might try to show up, where that behavior, that perspective might try to still show up, because
Mhm,
I'm sure, that there'll still be occasions where, little sneaking, thing going
mhm.
on. But I don't want that. I don't think I'm asking for too much. It's not
Yeah,
too much.
no.
It's learning from what has occurred.
hmm
And even now, part of me is going, where did it come from?
hmm
What caused that? When did I start doing that? What was going on in me,
hmm
psychologically, emotionally,
hmm
that made me feel that to some degree, maybe I'm not enough? Is that where it comes from? A sense of I'm not enough. Um, I'm not good enough. I want to do this, but I need somebody to affirm that I am good enough, that I can do this, that I can be this, or is it rooted in that kind of, what do you think?
Well, it can be. I would have to know a lot more about you
Yes.
I can't make a blanket statement. It certainly is
Yeah.
one reason why it would happen, but
Mm,
it's not the only reason why.
So I'm going through all of those thought processes, and
hmm
that's really, I I think healing is the word. That's really a nice, beautiful, wonderful, lovely revelation
hmm
that I'm enjoying because it's also empowering.
It's, yes. The whole concept of Traitor Within is empowerment because you can't change the people around you. You can't, as you said, you can't make someone else give you what you need. That
Mm.
has to come from within. And so it is empowering because you name it. And I mean, not even the word traitor within, but you name what it is, what's happening. Now you have awareness. Awareness is the first step. And it would be helpful to learn about where it came from, but not vital.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
useful to know.
Yeah.
Mm.
But you know what it is, you know what can self-sabotage your although it
Yeah.
sounds like you're a lot, but maybe the ultimate and if it comes up again, then you can say, I hear that voice, if it's a voice, or I feel that I'm acting that way.
Mm.
And you could take a moment with it and sit with it And this is why I don't want you to dislike that part of you, because again, I do believe it had good intentions, even so it was not
Mm.
helpful. And you take a moment and you sit with it and say, okay, this is what my trader is doing, but I don't, it's not working for me. And you're gonna and you're and you will say, I'm gonna make this choice because I know the answer. I know what's best for me, and I'm gonna trust me. I'm gonna have trust in me and my
Yeah,
decision making.
I like that. That's really beautiful. And what, even as you were speaking as well, what I'm realizing is that this was going on in the background, even whilst I recognize myself as somebody with healthy self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as, like you were saying earlier, we can have both of those.
Mm-hmm.
We're multifaceted,
We are.
right? So
Yes.
we can carry those two things.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, to me, it didn't initially make sense. I've got a healthy self-esteem and view of myself. I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to be perfect. It's not really about perfection. It's just trying to be healthy in
Mm-hmm.
all ways, emotionally, in every possible facet.
Mm-hmm.
But this thing was going on at
Mm-hmm.
the same time. At the same time, whilst, for example, during my career, I was, enjoyed marvelous things and discovered marvelous things about myself.
Mm-hmm.
This thing was still there. So I hope it just encourages other people listening to, like you said, be kind to yourself, but to really dig deep and wonder. And I feel like I want to do this process more,
Mm-hmm.
to examine and to not to pull apart, not to be critical, but just to examine in a healthy way. What's going on in me? What am I doing? That's what I'm thinking.
So when we end this, I'm going to send you the journal, your Trader Within journal, which was it's prompts. It's 365 prompts to help you figure this all out. If you
Oh, that's lovely.
And a bracelet, because the bracelet is a trigger bracelet. So if you ever feel yourself um, going down this road again, you can look at the bracelet and say, nope, recognize it's
Ah,
happening. And then cognitively say, even I'm going to make a change here. I'm going to go a
oh, I
different
love
route
that.
this time. So we'll talk about that after you'll give me your address. And
Okay, lovely. We will do.
so tell me about how your podcast started, or a little bit about your journey that led you up to doing your podcast. And you're working also other, it's not just the podcast that you're doing, right? You also have another um,
Oh, at the
career
moment, well,
or have. Okay.
primarily, it's the podcast that
Okay.
I'm doing. I'm on the board of a non-profit, a 501c called Turntable, that's all about anti-trafficking and pulling youths
Oh.
um, out of homelessness. And when it comes to the podcast, it's such a journey. So my husband and I moved here about 12 years ago, and we thought initially that we would move just for a year. And that's where it all started. It's that journey of transitioning from one culture to another, of living in an environment where everybody speaks English. I came from England and moved here to the US. Everybody speaks English. What can possibly be difficult? We hadn't at all prepared or really understood that other than packing up our suitcases and putting all of our huge belongings on a ship across the ocean, we just didn't know that we needed to prepare our psyche, our emotions for dealing with what are you going to do when you start feeling homesick? What's that going to look like? What are you going to do when you get to a point where you haven't started making any friends, where you're feeling lonely and isolated and that sort of stuff? I hadn't thought about that. We were
Mhm.
all just enjoying, the first 6 months as tourists. And that's what happens when you move, when you relocate.
Interesting. Yeah.
Your mindset is like you're a tourist, and we were on this fabulous road trip for 3 months, me, my husband, and two suitcases, And we were in Yosemite, we were all over the place having a wonderful time. And then it came to a point of settling down. And that's where reality started kicking in. You know, what am I going to do with myself once he's at work? Because
Mm-hmm.
it was easy for him to, it was easy for me to just cut my job, cut my career, move here because I could do that anywhere. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I thought. But he, being a medic, being a doctor, he needed all of these different certificates. And so we moved to an area where that worked out. We didn't think about, is this particular location the right spot for us? What is the culture there like? What is the mix in terms of diversity and so on? Because he's German,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I'm black, he's white. We didn't think about all this stuff. We were just thinking about the sunshine. We
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be in an environment where there's a lot of sunshine. And that's what we went for. And to cut a long story short, I started realizing after the birth of my daughter, I really need a lot more. And so I started going to these events, mom and baby events, and trying to click, trying to connect with the other parents there. And something just wasn't working. And I kept saying to my husband, we're not having conversations that are meaningful about things
Mm-hmm.
that I want to talk about. They talk about the same thing all the time, and it's just surface level. And that works with them. And he kept saying to me one week after another, you need to stop going. It's not helping you. It's clearly not healthy for you. You need
Mm-hmm.
to do something else. I got
Mm-hmm.
to the point where I decided I need to stop everything, turn inwards, and figure out what do I need. Because at this point, I was thinking, I need to go back home.
Mm-hmm.
And he was beginning to panic.
Mm-hmm.
New baby, he's loving his job. We've just bought a new house. We're beginning to build home and settling down.
Mm-hmm.
But she wants to go back home because I was feeling I was missing all these things. And
Mm-hmm.
my clouds were beginning to turn really gray because I was feeling isolated and I was feeling I need connections like I had back home. I had
Mm-hmm.
assumed that that would happen organically. I
Right.
had assumed that I'll just go there, go out, we'll meet people, we'll make friends, and it would just happen the way it does back in England. But that's not the truth at all.
Mm-hmm.
People here in the US, the culture is very scheduled.
Interesting.
And I've learned recently from an American girlfriend that the culture here says if you're from somewhere different, you sound different, there is a little bit of stranger danger and it takes a while to kick in. That's where the journey starts. And then a couple of
Mm-hmm.
years, 2 years ago, my girlfriend started saying to me, the real connections that I eventually made, started saying to me, let's, Yolanda, you should record. You should have these conversations recorded. You should do an app. You should do this. And I was like, why should I? Why don't you? It's not my job. It's not my area of expertise. But then it got strange. Would go to supermarkets, have these random conversations, and total strangers would start saying the same things to me. You know, just start recording. You should do this. Do you record? Do you? These things just kept happening over and over and over. And that was when I decided, maybe I should try it. And I
Mm-hmm.
did, and it just went whoosh. I was in a whirlwind. People were offering their help, they were offering their support, and it just took off. And here I am now, just still learning.
Well, I mean, the two things you've already told me about you doing here is this, obviously, and you also talked about, the charity that you're doing.
Yeah.
And inside of you is this incredible soul of compassion and empathy and giving. So you weren't going to get that by what you started with here, those groups.
No, I was not. I thought that I would. I expected it to.
Well, this is how I mean, wonderful that you found it.
I am elated. I'm elated to be in this spot, this place right now. I'm elated because I get to have these conversations with these women and some men as well about who am I now that I've landed in this new country,
Hmm.
the value that I'm bringing. I love the idea of being able to give these women um, a safe space where they can just share about their culture and about the life they've built, about the challenges they've had to overcome, about being resilient, about the courage that they've had to find within themselves that they didn't know that they had, about
Mm-hmm.
being tenacious
Mm-hmm.
and building a life. It's about a sense of belonging. It's asking the question, do I really belong here?
Yeah.
What does my belonging look like and sound like? What does it taste like and feel like? And
Mm-hmm.
is this home? Can I stay here? Does it feel safe? You know, it's all of those questions. All of those questions are being answered. And that's
And
what I'm
within
enjoying.
and within America, because you said most of the people end up here that you're talking to, right?
Right now, at the moment, yes, I'm speaking to people from all around the world who've moved here.
Because in America, it's like a million different countries within America. I mean,
Yes,
even
yes,
Northern California is very different than Southern California.
yes.
And then in the mountains, it's very different than along the coast. And I
Hmm.
could keep, and now the world's gone a little a lot. America's gotten very much upside down. A lot of the world has.
Yes,
So
that's right.
there's a lot. I mean, I can't even imagine the conversations that you're having, and they're so important.
Those conversations are very important and they help me to learn a lot about myself. The
Mm,
guests come away with having learned so much about themselves. It's like this process of peeling away the rings of the onion and finding something at core that, oh, I didn't know that was there, similar to what we were talking about, the traitor,
mhm,
being introspective, and you find something that's there and it's like, what's that doing there? And
mhm,
I'm seeing the same thing. I'm seeing hurt and missing home and
mhm,
pain and joy and encouragement blossoming. But the great thing is being able to create something that offers tips and tools and wisdom to future would-be expats so that
mhm.
they don't have to start from scratch as we did.
Right, right.
Right, that's the beauty of it. That's what I'm really enjoying as well.
I mean, there's something very wonderful about community. And if you can find that community where you are, if you can find, you don't need to have 20 friends. You just need one or two really good ones. But I always think about the circles. You need just a couple good ones, even one really good one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the other circle. Then you have more like the social circle where you may go out as couples, or you may and then you have, or you can rely on if someone gets sick, but it isn't necessarily where you'd open your heart to. And then you have these different layers, but it's important to find your people, the people that make
Yes.
you feel like you can just be you, where you can be authentic and you don't have to hide, you,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, because that's so very, very important. I've just started learning that as well. And in finding your community, this is something that I learned early on when I couldn't connect with those women. I needed to go inside myself and I needed to figure out, what am I looking for? What is
Mhm.
good for me? What's healthy for me? What does that look like? How do they respond to me? How do they treat me? I had to go and figure that out. And then
Mhm.
I started writing it down. This is what I'm looking for. This is
Mhm.
what my soul needs. And so
Mhm.
these are the sort of things that I've been sharing recently. In order to build a community,
Mhm.
you need to know what that looks like, what you need.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're going to end up with so much of what's not good for you, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. Oh my gosh, I love what you're doing.
Thank you. I love what you're doing.
So tell me a little bit more about the charity then. So how does the charity work? What's the charity called?
The charity, well, do you say charity here? Because I've been told in the US we don't say charity, we
Oh,
say 501c or we say non-profit. In Europe and England, we say charity.
I say charity.
Same, yeah, same thing.
Okay.
It's called Turntable. And you go online and you'll find it on the Turntable Housing. I'm not the founder, I'm on the board. The lady who found it came all the way from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And she built this organization maybe about 5 or 6 years ago now. And she supports youths who are just struggling through life, 18 to 24. And she comes alongside them, helps them through the justice system, helps them through uh, providing housing for them, helps them with offboarding from the previous life into this life, helping these youngsters recognize when they are in a system that is abusive. She recognizes the systems of of trafficking, and so she works with these youth, these souls and these spirits, to take them out of that and to bring them to a place where you can have a life that is fulfilling. You're supposed to live a life that's fulfilling, where you add value and you have purpose and you have a life that is destined to do something. This is not all there is for you. To change that message and to change that dialogue and to change that mentality and to bring something else to them. And it's called turntable. And because for her, it's the change from one
Record.
DJ record
Yeah.
into another, and there's a process of mixing in the middle where it sounds a little bit skewy, but then the tune changes. That's
Oh,
that's
love.
the vision that she has, and her name is Robin Giesman, and she's doing a fabulous
Oh,
job. So I'm just there with the board members to help strategize and to push her along and to help people everywhere to know that there is a place to go. There
is
is
she all over
something.
California or just north, just San
Oh,
Francisco?
she's all over California. She's all over. She's everywhere. She's really working everywhere. She's been involved with other organizations in rescuing people. She's been involved in rescuing people um, abroad because somebody found her somewhere and sent her a text message and then responded, and she put all the wheels in process in a different country to, she's I don't know. I don't want to say superwoman. That's too much pressure, but she's a real human being with a real heart doing
That's
the work.
what it's all about, right?
Yes. Yes.
Is there anything else you want to share before we close?
Oh my goodness. I think for me, it's something that you said about being nice to ourselves.
Mhm.
Um, it's not being afraid to face the things in ourselves that we are uncomfortable with,
Mhm.
and having the courage to say, I want to change that. If it's something you need help with, to find help.
Yes.
I really, there's this word that's been jumping around my mind for the last few days, and it's metamorphosis.
Hmm.
And I want that for everybody. I want people to really get to a point where you're living a true, authentic life and you are achieving things that make you feel ecstatic, where you find purpose and you deal with all of the noises that tell you that you can't, this isn't for me, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that.
Hmm.
That's a lie.
That's the traitor in people.
Yes.
It's the one that tells you that. The
That's
traitor prevents you from being
mhm.
that authentic self. So,
That's what I want to leave with.
yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you.